Is this thing on? Welcome back to Movies TV Man. I'm Nick, your host with the most. Your stars, your girlfriends and your wives. So welcome to the latest edition of the Movies TV Man Daily. And as a huge DC fan, I'm hyped for the launch, the birth of James Gunn's DCU. He was at New York Comic Con last night. He had a Creature Commandos panel, and he launched the Creature Commandos second trailer. I have seen it, by the way. This won't be my first reaction, but we're going to react to it together because it looks so good. Then I'm going to talk about what I think about this, what I've heard about this, and then you can make your own minds up about it. So let's watch this trailer. I'm going to be watching it again. I'm not going to lie to you. So my reactions won't be fake, though. However I react, I'm a genuine guy, but just telling you I've already seen it. So let's go!
General Flag, you found yourself in the middle of an international incident.
No, princess.
The United States is in business of saving the damn world by any means necessary.
What in the holy hell?
Congress said we can't use human prisoners. These assholes aren't human. Who is she? We call her the Bride.
I was born here.
Who's Jason and the Argonauts?
It's Dr. Phosphorus.
Why are you doing that? It's business. What is that?
The weasel. We know it has what it takes to survive. That's Nina Mazursky. Last one is G.I. Robot.
Cheers to the timber. I know you all aren't exactly enthusiastic about this mission.
I didn't realize I had a choice.
You said you wanted me to be a hero. Not like that. Until we find out the truth of what's going on here. We're supposed to be on the same damn team.
G.I.
Friend Nina. Shish kebab.
Don't be so hyperbolically violent. You need therapy. You wanted monsters. You got monsters.
Die, Nazi. It's not a Nazi, G.I. Oh, okay.
So that was awesome. I really love that trailer, and I've spoken to people that have already seen some episodes, if not all of the episodes, of Creature Commandos. I will give you their feedback very shortly. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Man, on Instagram at Movies TV Man X, where I post bite-sized videos daily. What you sometimes get on YouTube is an extended version of those videos, and on Threads, also at Movies TV Man X. I want to apologize to the bounciness of my camera while that trailer was on. We're not very professional here. It's a cheap £50 HD camera. I do apologize about that, but I'm hoping that my charm and my good looks make up for the amateurness of the tech that I use. So let's get talking about Creature Commandos. And I'll also give you some updates on other DCEU tidbits James Gunn gave us at the Creature Commandos panel. So most of the stuff I think we already know, but it is very, very interesting. So I'd love to know in the comments down below what you thought, how you felt about this trailer. I loved it. I think it's better than the first trailer. But look, stuff like this, I have no doubts about James Gunn. This is what he does so well, whether it's Guardians of the Galaxy, the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, now this, it's all a similar genre, if you like. It's a group of people that the world has rejected. They come together to become anti-heroes. It's the same thing he does so well. And I'm not saying he's repeating himself here, in a way he is, but it's the same kind of stuff. This will be great. If you like the way he does this type of thing, you're going to love this. The feedback I'm hearing is very, very good, and I'm not surprised about that. It looks like it's really, really entertaining. And so everything I'm hearing about Creature Commandos is great. The issues that I have with James Gunn, the doubts I have over James Gunn, is not over stuff like Creature Commandos or the Suicide Squad or Peacemaker. That's fine. He's written and directed a Superman movie. That's where I'm looking forward to seeing if he's capable of doing something like that. Superman is an individual character, but of course he's using what he's good at, even with that film. There's going to be so many DC characters in there that create a group of people that are Superman's meta-human family. So in a way, the Superman film is doing what he always does, finding friendship in the strangest of places and using a new Justice League, if you want, kind of a Golden Age Justice League, to do that. So I don't think this is going to be an individual story about Superman, even though I think he will create themes for Superman. Superman will be the main character, of course, but he's going to do what he always does. He did talk about David Corenswet's performance as Clark and Superman. He said, it's fucking outstanding. His words, not mine. Of course, he's going to say the actor he chose was great. The other stuff I've seen David in, because I've seen stuff on YouTube, he looks an amazing actor. So his qualities is saying, also, I have no doubt it's over. We will see. An actor can only do what's on script, can only be as good as the director he's working with. And James Gunn is a very good director, to be clear. I don't think he's movie Jesus or anything like that, but he's really good. And he normally gets great performances out of his actors. Now, he also spoke about Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. He's happy with the writer. He's happy with the pitch she gave him. He's happy with the director. He says it's all going well. And excitingly, they will start shooting in London in January. So I'm not sure if you all knew that or didn't know that as well. In terms of Creature Commandos, I can't remember all the characters, but I know that Alan Tudyk, who's playing, is it Dr. Phosphorus? Is that who he's playing anyway? Whoever's playing him, apparently that's a very brutal, murderous character that takes pleasure out of killing and causing pain. I like him already. So as I say, yeah, it sounds good. The feedback I'm getting sounds really good. The trailer, the second trailer we just witnessed here, looks freaking amazing. But if you want to know everything that James Gunn had to say, go and check out his NYC panel on YouTube. It's all over there. You can watch the whole panel. And of course, he's excited. He says he's happy with the way things are going. He also spoke about Lanterns very briefly. He said Tom King and Damon Lindelof have worked on that show, and the story came from him, I think, and Tom King. He said Lanterns is a very grounded show, and he said that's a bit odd, he said, for a Green Lantern show. Yes, James, it is. It's shocking to me that we're getting a Green Lantern show instead of an epic movie. I've criticised that already. I do think it's a question of money. A Green Lantern epic movie would cost Warner Brothers a huge budget, maybe 250 to 300 million. It's money they haven't got. I've explained to you before. This is why it's kind of a grounded show, because grounded shows don't cost a lot of money. It's going to be HBO. It's going to be very HBO. It launches the story arc, which launches Gods and Monsters and what they're trying to do. He's also said, even though it's a shared universe DCU, it won't have to, not every film and TV show will look the same, will have the same color palette. It's individual, but connected. Also, in terms of Rick Flag Sr., you know, it is mentioned that his son, Rick Flag Jr., died. So there will be some issues with that as well. So that will continue, which is good. And Rick Flag Sr. has been confirmed by James to play a huge part in Peacemaker 2, and he will feature in Superman as well. So Rick Flag Sr. is playing a huge role in James Gunn's DCU, and I'm very excited about that. I'm still frustrated that Rick Flag, Jr. died in the Suicide Squad because he was a great character. Joe Kinnaman played him well in both movies. But it worked. He worked as a sacrificial lamb in terms of developing the Peacemaker character. I still would have rather have not lost him because Joe would have been a great asset to DC Universe. I'm not convinced we've seen the last of Joe Kinnaman's Rick Flag Jr. It's just a little feeling that I've got there. Joe was denying he's involved with Peacemaker 2. He was saying stuff like, I would never be on that show. Kind of makes me think, because it sounds like he's joking. I only read it. I didn't see the video of him saying it. So it sounds like maybe, just maybe, we may get a surprise there. James Gunn has already spoke about the DCU being very sci-fi, being very, very fantastical. So they mentioned Peacemaker 2, Creature Commandos, Superman, Lanterns. Now, I've tried to find everything that he spoke about. Now, yesterday I posted an exclusive video telling you that Brave and the Bold, the film that was supposed to be the Batman movie, our entrance into the Batman version of DCU has been cancelled. I genuinely believe they're not going forward with that movie. And if they do go forward with it, it's going to be way, way down in the future. They've got this Matt Reeves, the Batman universe. And at the end of the day, you can't have both of them. And it'll be interesting what's said about Brave and the Bold. But from what I can see, he didn't even mention Brave and the Bold. So it'll be interesting if my sources are right and that film has been cancelled at DC Studios. I would absolutely love for Gunn to call me out and say, you know what, you're wrong. I don't know where you got your information, but you're wrong. I would be glad to hear him talk about Brave and the Bold. He doesn't talk about Brave and the Bold. Even when when that fan asked him, do you consult with Matt Reeves because you're doing Brave and the Bold and he's doing his Batman crime saga so you don't use the same stuff? And he goes, well, yes, he's part of DC Studios. His Batman crime saga is part of DC Studios. And, it's not part of the DCU. So we do talk. But he didn't really mention Brave and the Bold, which I found very, very interesting as well. So right now, he's only really discussing his initial projects. And I mentioned this yesterday. He should have just launched on his slate the stuff that's definitely happening. And that was a mistake. He didn't do that in the first place. There was no need to mention Brave and the Bold. There was no need to mention, Swamp Thing. We're nowhere near seeing a Swamp Thing movie. We're nowhere near getting a Swamp Thing movie in development. James Gunn also confirmed that Creature Commandos was in development. He first started writing it before he was appointed co-CEO of DC Studios. Now, I've told you this ages ago. When James Gunn was fired from Disney and they brought him in, the idea was for him to develop his own Suicide Squad universe. So he did the Suicide Squad movie. Then it was going to be Waller. Then it was going to be Creature Commandos. Then it was going to be Peacemaker 2. He was just going to flesh out his universe. I personally would have preferred James to have that role, where he's like Matt Reeves, he's doing his own thing, right? And we could have different corners of the DC universe rather than, a constrained, bottled, plastic, connected universe. But that can be exciting if it works. And James Gunn has been, put in a very huge position. He was made an offer he couldn't refuse to be the creative lead, the creative head, whatever, right? It was a long night drinking a lot of alcohol, so you're going to have to forgive me. But yeah, he's been put in this huge position. He's either going to end up being a DC hero or a DC villain, because the buck will stop with James, which is very interesting. Creatively, he's a very interesting guy in the kind of themes that he likes to use. But Superman is the biggest thing he's ever done. So one way or the other, we're going to find out if he's got the tools to run this universe, and Superman will tell us everything we need to know. He spoke about a Superman trailer. He was asked about a Superman trailer. He said, I haven't got a trailer on me. I've got lots of stuff on my phone. Then the interviewer, or the guy who was asking the questions at the panel, said, quickly mug him. But he said, I've given it to someone in the audience, so you don't know who it is. And so he said, there will be a Superman trailer at some point. Soon, he said, but not soon as in now. So I think what everyone's saying, what we were saying the other day in the video where I tackled this subject, basically, we're going to see, they're going to play a trailer for Superman at the Brazil Expo, the Brazil Fan Convention. Yeah, the Brazil Fan Expo, I think that's what it's called. And I think, hopefully, it comes online as soon as they put it up there. I hope so. Like they did with Creature Commandos today. I don't want to see a situation, like I said the other day, where they show it to, the fans at a convention who can afford to go to a convention and travel to a convention, but not to the rest of the fans all over the world, in America, wherever, like us. I'm confident we will all see that Superman trailer in December. That will be a very huge moment for James Gunn, because that will be, in a way, the first time we know anything about this movie. We don't really know what the story is. Yes, there's been hints. We know it's about cloning. We know he's trying to, maybe, Lex Luthor is trying to clone a perfected version of Superman. We know Superman's probably ill and sick, like he is in All-Star Superman, from radiation poisoning or whatever it is. I think he will be suffering. That initial picture we saw, right, and I still say that first picture of Superman in the costume sitting down looking like that, yeah? Everyone shat on that picture. I didn't hate that picture. I thought the suit looked better as he was sitting down there, but it was clear either that was a clone or he wasn't very well. I'm going to plump for saying he's not very well. When we see him there, he's dying, but he's suiting up for the battle. And maybe he saves the world with his dying breath. Because the reality is here, everyone, as I've mentioned many, many times before, that he called it Superman Legacy. We all know what legacy means. It's something else I keep on boring on about, but it's important to keep on discussing this. So when the film comes out, and maybe I'm proved right, I hope I'm proven wrong, by the way, but I think this is the way we're going, I think he will kill off Superman at the end of this movie. I believe that's why it was called Superman Legacy. He cut the legacy from the title because people asked him too many questions, and it was going to hurt the marketing of the film, as people kept on asking, is he dying? Why are you calling it Legacy? So he decided just to call it Superman. I think the idea is, and this is why he called it Legacy, so he can say that Superman's legacy is what the DCU is built on after he dies. The reason there's going to be a Justice League, and they all, because maybe they're all divided during the Superman movie and they all get together for Superman's death. Now, because it's inspired by All-Star Superman. He dies at the end of All-Star Superman, right? We all know that. So, what will happen? I think that Connor Kent will take up the mantle, like I've mentioned before. I think it would be very dangerous for them to do, a bait and switch and have Supergirl take over Superman's mantle. Now, I've read most of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I can't remember everything about it, but I think he did mention it, he goes, in terms of it being comic book accurate. He said, obviously, it's adapted because you can't do it, you can't do a film the same way you do as a comic book, but it's pretty faithful with the themes and what it uses, what the comic book uses. So, it's Tom King's baby. He's working very closely with Tom King, with Lanterns as well. So he wouldn't want to upset Tom King. When you're working with a guy who created the story, you can't mess around with that guy. But I like the idea of working with comic book writers on live action. I appreciated Zack Snyder working with Alan Heinberg, who had written many a Wonder Woman comic before for the first Wonder Woman film in the DCEU. And that's why that film is so fucking good, because of that very reason. Zack got that element right. Work with the guys and the girls who understand this subject matter, this material the best. You know, the artists, the writers. That's what you want to do. Then everyone's happy, right? And the fans have more confidence if you're working with comic book people. Now, I know Tom King's a little bit of a controversial figure, but not for me. Not for me. I mean, I don't know the comics as well as some of you guys do. But yeah, some people love Tom King. Some, you know, hate Tom King. And, you know, that's very current day, isn't it? Everyone seems to be a divisive figure these days. So there's even people out there, believe it or not, you know, who hate me. But I don't blame them. I mean, if you sleep with someone's wife, people are going to hate you, aren't they? Anyway, moving swiftly on, conveniently. Superhero Woman of Tomorrow is interesting. If Superman dies, they may use the storyline of that film to play with that theme as well, where she's gone away. So, because I don't really get, in conjunction to that comic book story, how she probably does appear, briefly as she does, you know, in Superman. I think she will appear in Superman. I think that's why she was cast now. But don't forget, you know, as I said earlier, they're going to start shooting that film in January. So, you know, that's exciting. So whatever happens to Superman, whether it succeeds or fails or flops, that movie is getting done. But it would be interesting, though. It would be interesting. We've seen WB. We saw them how they shelved Batgirl. What would happen, right? I mean, it'll be interesting, right? They start shooting in January, right? Now, Superman's released in July. So, you know, the average film takes around 3 to 6 months to shoot these days. So you could say that principal photography could be done by July. Now that's very, very interesting. So if Superman flops, would Zaslav dare to shelve Supergirl? Be very interesting. Now, of course, I don't want Superman to flop. I love DC. I've mentioned this before. Any DC movie that's hated or it fails or TV show breaks my heart, genuinely. I love Superman. I don't want Superman to be mugged off on screen. That's why I'm concerned that James Gunn's going to kill Superman off at the end of the movie. Now, actually, I think if he does kill him off, and he does kind of decide that Superman's legacy builds the DCU, I think it could be, he'll do it in a good way, because he's a good writer-director. He's a good storyteller. But I don't want Superman fucking killed off. I want Superman to be front and centre. I want to see him and Supergirl on screen together. I want to see Superman and Batman together. So, you know, like half of me thinks, Mick, you're mad. He's not going to kill off Superman. But there's still this nagging fucking feeling. There's this nagging feeling at the back of my mind that he is going to kill off Superman. And we'll have to wait and see. It is a deal breaker. But we'll see what happens. It's one of those things that we have no control over. But let's just say, for argument's sake, he does kill off Superman. Just remember the critics of Snyder's Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. Oh, you've killed off Superman too quickly. No one cares because we didn't get to know him. I'll be reminding you Snyder haters, of that if Superman dies at the end of James Gunn's Superman movie. It would be very, very interesting to hear what the Snyder fans, Snyder haters have to say if that was to happen. July isn't far away. Isn't far away. We are getting closer and closer, but we're certainly getting closer and closer to that trailer. I have no idea at the beginning of this year why he said there wouldn't be a trailer. I think he was overruled by Zaslav. They're going to officially start marketing this movie in December. That's very, very early. Let's count the months out, right? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, 7 months. Normally they start within 5 or 6 months. So they are starting early. I would have started even earlier. I would have had Superman posters by now. I would have had Superman toys by now. All the character toys that are in that movie. I would be promoting the shit out of this movie a year before it was out. On the anniversary of its year release, I would have started promoting this movie, as I say, posters, toys. The trailer wouldn't be ready because, obviously, they're busy, editing the movie, post-production, all that. I get that. I think December's perfect for the first teaser trailer of the movie. And I, for one, can't fucking wait to see what James Gunn has in store for us. It'll be interesting to see the aesthetics of the movie. That's the word that James Gunn used. Every DC movie and TV show won't have the same aesthetics. Because I've said this before, every country looks different, right? So just because you're in the DC universe doesn't mean every DC movie and TV show should look the same. That's one thing I critique about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because it's in the MCU, it all looks the same. And that's not, Wakanda should have a different kind of color palette to, the planet that Thor comes from, right? Everything looks the same in the MCU. That's one thing I've criticised before. So James Gunn is right to go along those lines. So I cannot wait to see what this trailer is going to be. It's very interesting. How long will this trailer be? Now, when we got our Superman Returns teaser trailer, or the Man of Steel one, I think, was it 90 seconds? Or was it a minute and a half? They weren't very long trailers. It's interesting, right? Will this be a minute and a half trailer? Because I've seen teasers that go on for 3 minutes before. It depends what he wants to show us. He said the edit for Superman is going very well. We know there's an assembly cut. Let me explain to you. An assembly cut, assembly cut's important because it shows you what you want and what you don't want. There'll be a lot of stuff that they won't want. So what they'll do is they'll take the assembly cut and they use it as a map, right? So it's up there, they're watching it. And then they start making their other cuts, because we heard from Zack Snyder when he was talking about his director's cuts. He said he has multiple director's cuts. But it's not just that. They all do that. They cut the movie so many times. And ultimately, as a director, you cut the movie your way, right? But then, like David Zaslav and all James's bosses will come in from WB and they'll give him notes and they'll say, right, James, yeah, this ain't a good idea. That's a good idea. It'll be interesting what Zaslav, if James is planning on killing off Superman at the end of that movie, what Zaslav thinks about it. I don't think he'll be very happy. In fact, if Superman doesn't die at the end of this movie, maybe that's why they took the legacy out of the title, because Zaslav said no. It will be very, very interesting, because James Gunn has always bragged that he doesn't take notes. He takes some notes and ignores them mostly, right? He's not a fan of notes, but then he tried to give Todd Phillips notes, on Joker Folie en Deux. Now, some people will say it failed. Maybe they should have listened to James. I think, like many of you are saying, Joker Folie en Deux didn't need to exist. I love the movie personally. I know a lot of you hate it, but I personally think it's, I have culture. I'm a cultured person. I think it's a beautiful, artistic, cultured movie, but we didn't need it, right? If he wanted to do another movie, it should have been a Harley Quinn movie. Now that would have been brilliant. That really would have been brilliant to have Lady Gaga in her own movie, because people are complaining because she wasn't featured enough in that movie, even though she's in it for an hour. I think you could have even, had a musical, on her own, singing and stuff. It could have been crazy. But again, people are so pissed off that Joker Folie en Deux was a musical. That's what really hurt the movie and its box office and its potential to, be viewed by more people, for them to make more money. So it's clear people don't want musical CBMs. But if you're going to do a musical CBM, Todd Phillips can't direct it. I think one thing that's clear about the kind of musical element of that film, Todd Phillips isn't really experienced in musical cinema. And maybe he should have produced and co-wrote it with Scott Silver and allowed someone who understands musicals to direct that movie. I think that's where he made the mistake. Phillips came in 2018 and he wanted to create a DC Black Label live-action universe. So even though he's not a big comic book DC fan, he knew enough about DC to know the Black Label. That was his plan, to do different movies about different characters, which would have been awesome. A lot of people are saying he made this movie the way he did because he's angry with WB for forcing him to do a sequel. No, if he is angry, he's angry because he doesn't get to flesh out his Black Label universe. But I think what he should have done, because it's clear he didn't want to do a proper Joker and Harley movie, which is something we would have loved to have seen. It was something that David Ayer was going to do with Margot Robbie and Jared Leto. And you know, we were going to get Gotham City Sirens, we were going to get so much great stuff from David Ayer, and again, we lost out. There's another theory going around about Sophia from Penguin, by the way, just to mention before I go. Some people think she will become the Batman crime saga's Poison Ivy. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with that theory. Thinking about it, maybe that's exactly who she becomes. But how does a grounded the Batman crime saga universe and franchise deal with Poison Ivy? It will be very, very interesting considering they've even changed the name from Oswald Cobblepot to Oz Cobb because they want to be more grounded. So how the hell do you do a grounded Poison Ivy? Watch this space.